Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I've compiled 50 of my best Dollar Tree Easter DIYs for you, all in one video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and hopefully you get some inspiration for some easy and affordable Easter decor for your home this season. And if you're new here and you like home decor and DIYs on a budget, stick around by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. All right, let's get into it. For this first DIY, I'm going to use two of these wooden picture frames from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the back and the insert from one of them, and I'm going to keep the glass because I'm going to use that later, but the rest of it I don't need. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint the wooden frame with some of this green mossy chalk paint that I had on hand, and I just gave it one coat. Now with the other frame, I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing and the insert, and I'm not going to use the frame, I'm just going to use the glass out of that frame. So I'm going to take one of the pieces of glass and I'm going to glue that down on the inside of my painted frame. So you can put whatever you'd like inside this picture frame, but I'm going to go with this assorted paper cardstock from Dollar Tree. I chose the lightest color out of it. And now I'm going to go to canva.com and I'm going to create a custom design. So I just went to create a design and then custom size. And then for the width, I'm going to select 5.5 inches by 6 inches in length, and that's roughly the size of the cardstock. So once I do that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on elements, and then you can type in whatever picture you'd like at the top there. I just put in rabbit, you can put in Easter, whatever you'd like, and you can just scroll through. Now the ones with a crown on them, you do have to pay for. It's part of their pro plan, but if you select those 3 little lines up there, you can click on free to filter out all of the free designs. So you just choose your design and then you can resize it however you'd like. I chose this bunny. This one is part of the pro plan, so it is not free, but you can choose whatever you'd like. They have tons of different options. I just resized it. I didn't want it huge to fit the whole piece of paper. I want to leave some room around the top and the edges for something different. I did add the words Happy Easter to mine, and they have a bunch of different texts that you can use. And then you're just going to go click share and then download your design. And then once you get it downloaded, you just find it on your computer and you click on it to print it, and you want to make sure that you change your paper size on your printer to the 5.5 by 6, and then you can print it out on your cardstock. Load that up into the printer and it comes out just like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and tear the edges of my cardstock to make it look a little more vintage, but also to fit inside my frame a little bit better. Once that's tore, I just am going to place that upside down on my glass, and then I'm going to take that other piece of glass from the other frame and hot glue that inside of the frame, and it comes out looking like this. Now I'm just going to take this lace ribbon from Dollar Tree to create a hanger for my frame. I just hot glued the lace ribbon onto the back of the frame, and then with the rest of the ribbon in this pack, I just tied a little bow to hot glue at the top of the hanger there. There isn't much lace ribbon in this pack, so it worked out perfectly for this frame. And I absolutely love how it turned out. I think it is pretty and elegant and gives a little bit of a vintage Easter vibe with the torn paper, and I think it's perfect for Easter. For this next DIY, I'm going to use the 24-inch stacked egg decor from Dollar Tree in the plus section. And I am going to use some of this craft fabric from Dollar Tree as well. So I decided to use some Mod Podge and wrap each one of my eggs in the fabric. I used one piece of fabric to do the small egg, and I just applied the Mod Podge over the egg entirely, and then I placed the fabric over the top of the egg, and then I just bunched it down at the bottom. Now it will have some creases down around the egg, but I didn't mind that. I thought it made it look more vintagey and shabby chic. So I just bunched it up and then I cut off the excess fabric at the bottom. And then I just used more Mod Podge and Mod Podged everywhere around it, all over it, because the Mod Podge dries clear, so you won't be able to see it once it dries. And then for the second egg, I did the same exact thing I did to the first egg, and again, just applying so much Mod Podge. I used that whole bottle for the smaller egg and the medium-sized egg to apply the fabric. I just cut the excess fabric off the medium egg, and then since there was a hole in that medium egg, I went ahead and cut that out as well. Moving on to the big egg, I did have to use 2 pieces of fabric in another new bottle of the Mod Podge, which is the small bottles from Dollar Tree, and it's the matte finish that I used for the Mod Podge. And all I'm going to do is just apply the Mod Podge all over the egg like I did with the other ones, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap the fabric around the side instead of the top of the egg. And then I'm just going to place some more Mod Podge all over the fabric, and then just lifting the fabric and applying more Mod Podge so that way the fabric stays in place really well. There is less wrinkling on the big egg, but it still ends up looking all cohesive in the end. So I think it all blends well and nicely together. Now I'm going to take another piece of fabric after I applied some more Mod Podge to the section of the egg that didn't have any fabric on it. And I'm just going to lay that piece of fabric over that section, overlapping with the fabric that's already on the egg. And then for the edges, I just went ahead and folded them over so it had a nice seam, and then I just painted over some more Mod Podge. Again, Mod Podge is your friend and it will help glue everything down and dry clear. So I used a ton of it. I just did the same thing to the other side of the edge and folded that over, and then I just cut the excess fabric from around the top again. I folded the other excess fabric underneath the egg since you won't be able to see it, and then I was able to stack my eggs up, and I think this turned out really pretty. Again, it kind of looks vintagey and shabby chic and just really pretty and springy for Easter. I love the colors on this fabric. The next DIY, I'm going to use some more of that same craft fabric from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut a little slit, and then I'm going to tear strips of this fabric. And I ended up tearing about 16 strips off of this one piece of fabric. And all you have to do is just use some scissors to get it started, and then you just rip it and it just comes right off. And you want to do about 1-inch sections. Mine, I didn't measure anything, so mine are give or take 1 inches. Maybe they're more like 1/2 inch in some of them, but the thicker they are, the better that the bow's gonna turn out, because that's what I'm gonna do with these. I'm going to take these strips of fabric and I am just gonna tie a bow. So I did the 2 bunny-eared bow. So I did the 2 bunny ears and then I wrapped it around each other and then tied it off. And then just before I pulled it completely tight, I made sure everything was facing the right direction, so that way none of the white side of the fabric was showing. And then I just cut off the ends to where I liked them into a point. And now I have 16 of these bows, and I'm going to take this white ribbon from Dollar Tree and I am just going to lay it out, and then I'm going to hot glue the bows onto the ribbon. And then once I had a couple of the bows on the ribbon, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue the ends of the bows to each other, so that way it keeps everything in place. And if you couldn't tell, I am making a bow garland. So I just went ahead and did that for all of the bows, and I just think this turned out really pretty and delicate. And Dollar Tree has so many different types of fabrics. You can customize this to match your decor, and it's easy and affordable to make. For this next DIY, I'm actually just going to give this little wicker resin bunny a makeover. This bunny is from the plus section from Dollar Tree for $5, and I like the bunny, but I just think it needs a little bit of a makeover to make it look a little more elegant. So I removed the bow from around its neck. It kind of was overtaking the bunny, so I just used a heat gun to melt the glue, but you could use a hair dryer if you didn't have a heat gun. And then I'm gonna go over this bunny with some brown acrylic paint just to make it look a little bit more like a basket and kind of give it a little bit more depth. You could use whatever color you had on hand or whatever matches your decor. So I just had this brown, and I think it works perfectly for a basket look for this bunny. So I went all over it, and then I took some of this lace ribbon from Dollar Tree and tied a new bow for my bunny. And I love how this looked. It really elevated the bunny and it matches my decor a lot better. So it just goes to show you, just with a little paint and a little time, you can change something and make it into something.
Diaper rash sucks, baby. So we made a new diaper. Huggy Skin Essentials diaper helps protect.
Love. And it matches, went all over it, whatever color again. So different types of fabrics. You can customize this to match your decor, and it's easy and affordable to make. For this next DIY, I'm actually just going to give this little wicker resin bunny a makeover. This bunny is from the plus section from Dollar Tree for $5, and I like the bunny, but I just think it needs a little bit of a makeover to make it look a little more elegant. So I removed the bow from around its neck. It kind of was overtaking the bunny, so I just used a heat gun to melt the glue, but you could use a hair dryer if you didn't have a heat gun. And then I'm gonna go over this bunny with some brown acrylic paint just to make it look a little bit more like a basket and kind of give it a little bit more depth. You could use whatever color you had on hand or whatever matches your decor. So I just had this brown, and I think it works perfectly for a basket look for this bunny. So I went all over it, and then I took some of this lace ribbon from Dollar Tree and tied a new bow for my bunny. And I love how this looked. It really elevated the bunny and it matches my decor a lot better. So it just goes to show you, just with a little paint and a little time, you can change something and make it into something you love. For this last DIY, I'm going to use one of these pieces of wood from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to stain it with some of this early American stain. Just put one coat on it and let it dry. And then I have 4 of these bunny tails left over that came in a pack of like 12 from Dollar Tree last year. So I'm going to use those, and I'm going to hot glue them down onto my piece of wood. And then I have more of that fabric. So I don't know why I bought so much of this fabric. I guess I really liked it. Anyways, I'm gonna take a piece of it, and I cut like a square off, folded it in half, and then folded it 4 more times. So a total of 5 times. And then I'm gonna cut into the folded side and do kind of like an oval shape to the unfolded side. And then that way I'm gonna have basically one ear out of one piece, and then I'm going to fold it over and hot glue it so that way both sides of my bunny ear, because that's what I'm making out of this, is going to be have that floral pattern on it. And then I'm going to hot glue it, kind of pinch it in the middle and hot glue it so that way it kind of makes a pleat in the middle of the ear. And then I'm going to hot glue that ear down to the little bunny tail, and they're not going to be tails anymore. They're like bunny heads with little ears. So I just finished doing that with the fabric and hot gluing them down, and I think that this turned out really cute. It's something really simple to elevate your Easter decor, and it kind of ties everything into the rest of the fabric that I used for my DIYs, and I really love it. I love that Dollar Tree has these bunny head wreath forms. I'm going to use that for this DIY. It makes it really simple to make an Easter wreath. I'm going to use also 9 bunches of the lavender that Dollar Tree sells. I have the dark purple, the light purple, and then the white lavender with a little bit of purple in it. I'm going to take one of the bunches and I'm going to start off by using some wire cutters and cutting off the bottom of the stem, so that way the lavender is still together, but the stem is just a little bit shorter to work with. And then I have some floral wire from Dollar Tree. So I just started off with the first bunch, wrapped some floral wire around the wreath, and then I layered another bunch of lavender on top of that, wrapped some more floral wire, and so on until I worked my way all the way around the wreath. The trick is you just want to make sure that when you wrap the floral wire around the bunches of flowers, that you're kind of hiding it inside the leaves and the flowers. So you're still wrapping the bunch to make sure it stays on the wreath, but you're wrapping it in a way that you can't really see the wire anymore. And then once you get all of the lavender around the wreath, you can kind of play with it a little bit to fan out the flowers and move them just slightly so that way it covers all of that wire wreath form and you're not seeing any of the wires or the wreath form at all. And then when you're done, you can just tie off the wire on the back of the wreath, and you can see here this is where I'm kind of fluffing everything together. Now there's so many different things you can do with the ears, but I had some of this nautical rope already. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start off by taking the piece of it and hot gluing it to the back of the ear, and then flipping the wreath around and then winding the nautical rope all the way up and around the ears. And I just hot glued it in a few different places as I was winding it up, so that way I would make sure that it would hold. But make sure when you're doing this that you are just pulling tightly as you're wrapping, so that way everything stays nice and tight and snug and you're not seeing the wire. Once I got to the middle of the ear, I finished wrapping the one ear, and then I had almost enough rope to do both ears with just one package of rope, but unfortunately I didn't. So I had to get another package out and finish wrapping the other ear. I just placed the start of the rope where I had left off and hot glued that down, and then wrapped the other ear, and then just trimmed where I had that hot glue. And that was it for this wreath. I think it turned out really pretty for springtime. I really love these bunnies that they have at Dollar Tree. They're super cute, but I do think they need just a little jazzed up. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the tags off of them, and then I'm just going to lay them out next to each other, and I'm going to hot glue the hands together. So the one that's in the middle, I'm going to hot glue both of his hands to the other two. Then to make sure that they stay together and they don't flail everywhere when you stand them up, I'm going to hot glue the sides of their bodies together just like I did with the hands. Now that they're glued together, I do think that they need to hold something, so I picked up some of these egg picks, one in each color, and I'm just going to take the skewers out of them. They're just hot glued in there, but the glue is really sticky, so you just have to make sure that you're careful when you pull them out so you don't unravel the yarn from the egg. And then I'm going to start off on one of the hands of the bunnies, and I'm just going to hot glue one of the eggs to the hands. And then I'm just going to continue to hot glue an egg all the way across the bunnies to the last bunny's other hand, and I'm going to hot glue that egg onto his hand. And I used 9 eggs in total for this DIY. Once I got the eggs all hot glued down, I took the hands in the middle and I just placed them in between a couple of the eggs, so each bunny was like holding 3 eggs, and I just hot glued those down so that way it just looked, I don't know, I guess a little bit cuter. And then I had some of this pink polka dot ribbon, so I just decided to make 3 bows, and I hot glued them on their necks so they kind of stood out and they matched the ears and the face and the feet and all of the pink details on the bunnies, and just made them pop just a little bit more. Now these bunnies came without tails, but that's okay because Dollar Tree sells a bag of bunny tails for Easter, so I hot glued 3 in place, and that was it. I think these turned out really cute for Easter. Since I had some of these eggs left over, I decided to take the rest of them and make something. I also had some of these wooden bunnies, which are super cute, but I'm gonna use the ears and the tail off of them for this DIY. I'm gonna turn these little eggs into Easter bunnies instead. So I just popped off the ears, they're really easy, and then I just pulled off the tail gently. They both come off really easily. And then I'm just going to press the ears right down into the top of the egg. It's just styrofoam, so they go really easily inside, and I used a little bit of hot glue and held it there until the ears set. And then I just hot glued the little tail on to the egg on the front, or the back, I guess. And that was really it. I think these are super cute to display on shelves for Easter time. I found these cute gingham bunnies from Dollar Tree. I got a pack of 1 of each color, and then I got some white yarn from Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of hot glue to the back of the bunnies' heads and then lay my yarn across the bunnies to make a garland. This was really simple to do. I didn't measure in between the spaces. I just kind of eyeballed it and made sure the bunnies were about the same width apart. And then I just hot glued them down to the yarn. And you can add some pom-poms. You can add some tassels. It's up to you. You can embellish this a little bit more, whatever you'd like to do. But I love how simple and cute it is for Easter time. For this DIY, I'm going to use some of the fabric from Dollar Tree. I just chose this pink color and I rolled it all out. I would definitely recommend ironing it to get all the wrinkles out, but I didn't do that to mine. So I just flipped it over and then turned it inside out so that way I can make a pillow out of this. So I'm just going to hot glue my edges down. If you are a sewer, you have a sewing machine, please feel free to sew this. I do not, and I don't sew, so hot glue works for me. And then I am just going to go ahead and flip the inside out because I left that one side open. And then I'm going to use some old pillow stuffing to stuff this. This is the best way to get stuffing, is just grab an old pillow and break it open and use that to stuff the new pillows. And then to close the seam on the other side, I'm going to take the fabric and I'm going to fold that over and use a little bit of hot glue to secure that fold down so that way it creates a nice edge and it's not frayed and it looks even like the other side does. And I just did that to the top edge as well, and then I hot glued both of those edges together to keep it closed. Now that the pink pillow is finished, I want to embellish it. So I'm going to use some of this lace ribbon from Dollar Tree. I just took the ribbon and measured the length of the pillow and then I hot glued that piece down. And then I'm going to come above that piece that I hot glued down, and I'm going to hot glue another piece right above it, but overlapping that first piece. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way up the pillow. And I used 3 spools of this ribbon to do half the pillow. So I'm assuming you probably need 6 or 7 spools to do the whole pillow, but I think half the pillow was a pretty effect, and you can still see the pink. And this is perfect for spring and Easter, so you can have it out for longer than just Easter. I love how it turned out. It is so cute. This DIY, I was inspired by a bigger arrangement that I've seen on TikTok and Pinterest and all kinds of places, where they take a glass vase and they fill it with peeps, and then they put another glass vase in between the peeps and the other glass vase, and then they fill it with real flowers. Well, I wanted to do it from Dollar Tree materials, so it's going to be on a little smaller of a scale. That's why I'm using the clear trifle bowl from Dollar Tree, and then I took 3 packs of the yellow peeps from Dollar Tree. You don't have to break them apart or anything. They come in a set of 4, so I just placed them around the inside of the bowl up against the outer edge, and then I placed some floral foam in the middle to hold my flowers, and on top of that I put some jelly beans from Dollar Tree, so that way I would just cover it up and you wouldn't be able to see the floral foam at all. And then I took 2 bunches of roses from Dollar Tree and I cut them down and just placed them in the styrofoam. I think this turned out really adorable. I placed it on top of a little bunny tray that I got from Target last year. It's super cute to set out and super easy and affordable for some Easter decor this year. I really wanted to decorate these Easter trees Dollar Tree had out this year. They are super pretty, so I got 2 of them, and I'm just going to remove the stand off one of them, and then I'm going to pull apart the branches to one side on each of those trees. Then I took a zip tie and I zip tied the bottom of the tree together, and then I zip tied it in the middle of the tree. I only have black zip ties, but obviously clear zip ties would have been a lot better, or white zip ties. So if you're doing this, use that instead of the black. But I was able to kind of mask it and hide it in the end. And then I pulled apart the tree and fluffed it out so it looked nice and full. Then I got some of these cute little bunny feet from Dollar Tree, and I just cut the tags off of them. And then the sticks that the bunny feet are on, they are like a wire and they're pliable. So I went ahead and I put that stick through the 2 trees that were held together with the zip ties to kind of hold the legs together at the bottom of the tree. And then I flipped the tree over and wrapped those sticks around the tree to kind of make it secure. And then I did use a little bit of hot glue in the end on the back there and the front, just to make sure that those legs stayed in place and they didn't move around on me. And then I cut the excess wire with some wire cutters. I made sure I fluffed the tree again and the legs were straight before I glued the legs down. And then I took this headband, this bunny ear headband from Dollar Tree for the topper, and I just cut off the ears. They were really easy to cut off with just scissors. And then I hot glued that to the top of the tree. And then of course it's not a bunny without a little cotton tail, so I hot glued one of those little cotton tails from Dollar Tree to the back of the tree. And then I added some of these battery operated egg lights from Dollar Tree. I actually added 2 packs of those. And then I took the tree stand off of the bottom there because I'm going to use this little container and some iridescent shred, and that way I can hide the battery pack inside of that container with the iridescent shred, and that kind of matches the whole vibe of this. I think it turned out really cute and easy to display for Easter. This cute carrot wreath is perfect for your front door for Easter. It's easy and affordable to make. I just took one of these carrot wreath forms from Dollar Tree and some of this orange burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree as well. I took the end of the ribbon and I placed that underneath my bottom of my carrot, and then I added a little bit of hot glue to the ribbon to secure it down. And then I just started wrapping the ribbon up the carrot. And I used a little bit of hot glue to secure each one of the strands until I got about halfway up the carrot. And then once I got about halfway up the carrot, I just kept wrapping without using the hot glue until I got to the end of the carrot, and then I used some more hot glue to secure that piece of ribbon down. Some of the carrot wreath form was still showing at the top there, so I did use another pack of the burlap ribbon just to cover up that top piece. I just wrapped it around and hot glued it down just so that way it wouldn't show when I was all finished with this. Since I didn't hot glue some of that ribbon down, I was able to kind of just play around with it and manipulate it and move it around to make sure that all of the wire was covered up and it looked nice. And then for the top of the carrot, I used 4 bunches of these ferns that I got from Dollar Tree. I just shoved them in between the burlap down in the carrot, and it covered up that top part. I think it looks really adorable, and it is perfect for Easter for your front door. Again, it's really easy and affordable to make this, and it is just super cute. Dollar Tree has a ton of these candles, and they have a bunch in Easter colors like this pink, this teal, and white. They even have yellow and purple. I just picked up 3 of the candles, and the colored ones are wrapped in plastic. So I just used my little X-Acto knife and cut the plastic and then was able to get them off. It does leave a little bit of residue on one side where it was glued. But I'll come back to those later. And then the white one, I couldn't get the sticker off by itself, so I had the help of my blow dryer or heat gun would work, and it came right off. And then I had some spray Goo Gone, and I just sprayed them with that to get the sticker residue off. And then I'm just gonna dress up these candles a little bit with some of these Easter beads and these bunnies, and I just got some twine from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start off by tying the twine onto the top of one of the candles, leaving a long piece dangling down. I just double knotted it to make sure that it stayed, and then I cut off the piece of twine that is still attached to the spool of twine. So leave that long piece dangling down, and then I did use a little bit of hot glue on that knot that I tied just to make sure that it was super secure and it didn't come untied. And then I took some of the beads and I placed them on the twine. I didn't use the green beads because I don't know, they just didn't give off an Easter vibe to me. So I used all the other colors, but not the green ones. Then I attached the little Easter bunny to the bottom of the beads and the twine and tied that and just added a little bit of dab of hot glue like I did on the top there where it was tied off at, just to make sure the bunny stayed. And I did all 3 this way. I just changed up the pattern of the beads. And you can paint your bunnies or stain your bunnies. I just chose to leave mine the way they are. And I just think that these dress up the candles, make them a little more Eastery, and you can always take them off and use them for something else later on. But I love how they turned out, and it was easy and affordable to do this for some more Easter decor. I'm going to use these glass candle holders from Dollar Tree. I got 4 of them, and I'm just going to actually take 2 of them and leave them alone, leave them the height they are, and then I'm going to take the other 2 and I'm going to flip one over on top of the other one. I just used a little hot glue to secure it, but you would definitely use some E6000 to give it a stronger hold. And then I went ahead and had these sea glass spray paint colors, and so I spray painted them in those 3 different colors. It dries very quickly. It didn't take long at all to spray paint those 3 small pieces. And then I took these plates from Dollar Tree. They're just plastic plates. They come in a pack. And I got the blue, the yellow, and the pink. I believe they also have purple as well. And then I just hot glued those to the top of the candle holders. Again, E6000 will give it a stronger hold. And that was it. I made some cute little dessert plates or cake stands or even candle holders for bigger candles. It's up to you how you want to use them. I just put some little Debbie's cakes on them. I think they are really cute for Easter and spring. My spring wreath is easy and affordable to make with all Dollar Tree materials. I used these 3 rings from Dollar Tree. I used the bigger one for this wreath. You could use any size you want. And then I used 12 of these spring florals from Dollar Tree. I took one of the bunches and I bent the stem at the middle there so that way it would wrap around the wreath nicely. And then I used some floral wire from Dollar Tree and I started wrapping that around the first one, and then I would add my second one and keep wrapping and keep adding the florals overlapping each other as I went around the wreath. This is a really easy way to make a really pretty spring wreath, and you can take it apart easily since it's only wrapped with floral wire. I think it's beautiful and it looks really high-end, like something you would get from Target or Pottery Barn. It's perfect for springtime. I really wanted to make a terracotta bunny, so I picked up one of these little plastic Easter bunny eggs, I guess is what they call them, and I got it at Dollar Tree. And to give it a faux terracotta look, I'm going to use this paint, which I already had. It's from Ace Hardware. It's like Riviera Maya or Maya Riviera, but it just has a terracotta color. You could use any acrylic paint or any paint you have on hand that has a terracotta color. And then I mixed a baking soda in with that paint and it fluffs it up. So then I put the bunny together and I'm just gonna paint that terracotta color all over the bunny. I did 2.5 coats to cover everything as best as I could. Once it dries, it has this terracotta hard look to it. But it was kind of one-dimensional and it was still a little super shiny with the paint sheen to it. So I took a little baking soda and sprinkled that all over the bunny and then brushed it off. And this took away the sheen and gave it that real terracotta feel to it. So it looks really cool. And now I have a faux terracotta bunny for the springtime that didn't cost much at all. When I saw these wooden bunnies at Dollar Tree, I knew I had to do something with them. So I am going to use one of these candle plates from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start off with the bunnies, and I'm going to use the candle plate as a guide to hot glue my bunnies in a circle. I just hot glued them at their bodies on the side and then their little foot at the side on the bottom. And then you can see here I'm using that candle holder as a guide to form my circle, and I'm just going to keep hot gluing them together as I go around. And I used 1 package of these, but I needed 4 more bunnies in the end. So luckily with my last DIY in one of my videos before this, I used some of these bunnies and I had some left over, so I added those 4 bunnies to this DIY. Once I got them all done, I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint the candle holder and also this tall taper candle holder that I got from Dollar Tree as well with some of that beige spray paint. Then I hot glued the round candle holder on top of the taper candle holder, and then I'm gonna hot glue the bunnies around the edge there, and this makes the most adorable Easter candle holder I have ever seen. I love to use Dollar Tree canvases to print on with my printer. So I took this 8x10 canvas from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use an X-Acto knife and cut around the edges on the back there to remove the canvas easily. Once I remove the canvas, I just clean up the frame with the rest of the canvas, pulling that off. Then I'm going to take my canvas, and where it was wrapped around the frame, there is a crease. So I'm just going to cut right along that crease, making sure that I don't have any edges flipped up or anything, so that way it doesn't get jammed in my printer when I go to put this in. Now, I did go ahead and tape a regular piece of printer paper onto the back of the canvas, so that way it would feed into my printer nicely and not get jammed as well. So just extra precaution by doing this. And then I went ahead and printed out my design onto my canvas. Now, I used canva.com to create my design, and this is free. So I went ahead and created a free printable for you, and I will leave that linked down below in the description box. So all you have to do is click on it and you can print this on your own canvas. Then I'm going to take that piece of canvas and I'm going to flip the frame over onto the back, and I'm just going to flip that canvas on over there. And then I just use some hot glue to reattach the canvas. You can trim up the edges, but that is it. It's super easy, and you get this really cute high-end Easter picture. I love the expensive pottery that you can get at Pottery Barn and Crate and Barrel, but I can't afford it. So I'm going to create something hopefully similar to it with this bowl from Dollar Tree, which I thought kind of had an egg shape to it. It's just plastic. And then I'm going to use some lightweight spackle from Dollar Tree. And yes, I am just spreading it on with my hands. It's the easiest way to do this and get the most coverage. This stuff gets really damp as you're spreading it on. So as you put it on, you can take it away just as easily. So you want to make sure that you have a wet hand and a dry hand. One hand to put the spackle on, and then one hand to kind of pat it down and to join the seams together. I did all around the bowl, including the bottom, and then I did flip it over and I did the edge because there is a lip on this bowl. So I carefully just placed some spackle on there and then just rounded it out to meet the other spackle on the side of the bowl. Then once I had the spackle on, I let this dry for about 24 hours. The longer it sits and lets dry, the better. Once it was completely dry, I came back and you can see there's imperfections in it. There's some fingerprints in it and things like that, but that's okay because I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper and I'm going to sand the whole thing and kind of sand a lot of those imperfections out, just making it look a little bit more even, but still leaving a little bit of imperfections to give that pottery feel. Be careful not to sand too much because you can sand it back down to the plastic and you don't want that. Now I'm going to use one of these ceramic bunnies from Dollar Tree. They used to have the little hanger at the top that you just pulled out of its head, but now it's a ceramic hanger. So I'm going to gently knock it off with just a pair of wire cutters. This is up to you personal choice. If you want to knock it off, you can. If you don't have to. I just gently tapped it and it broke off. I did lose a little bit of the ear at the top, but that's okay because I'm gonna take a piece of sandpaper, and this sandpaper is coarser, more coarse than the first sandpaper, and I'm just gonna sand that bump down on the top and then sand where the little ear broke down, and it's barely noticeable, I think, in the end. And this bunny matches the bowl perfectly now with the spackle on it and the color and everything. So I don't have to paint it, but you can paint this if you want to. I'm just going to take the bunny and I'm gonna prop it up on the side of the bowl, and I just used a little bit of hot glue to secure it down. I did remove some of the spackle on the side, so it was just sitting on the plastic in the end, so that way the glue adhered to the plastic and not the spackle. Then I'm gonna fill my bowl up with a pool noodle. I just cut this pool noodle all in pieces and I hot glued it down into the bowl. When I was cutting the pool noodle up, I didn't really worry about how I was cutting it up until I got to the top of the bowl. And then I cut the pool noodle up into circles, I guess, and then like half circles. And I hot glued them kind of into mounds and filled in all of the holes as best as I could, so that way nothing was showing. I'm gonna be covering all of this up, so don't worry. All right, so I'm covering the pool noodles up with some moss. All of this moss came from Dollar Tree. It's like 6 or 7 bags worth of moss that I just shoved down into this little container. But if I had to guess, I probably used 2, maybe 3 bags to cover the top of this, and I just used hot glue and just started gluing the moss all on top of the pool noodles to cover up all of that glue. And you can kind of push down on it once the glue dries to kind of make sure it all adheres to the pool noodles and you're not seeing any more blue. Then I came back with a pair of scissors and I trimmed everything up nicely, tried to get some bumps and movement along in there to make it look more natural, like rocks covered with moss. But I love how this turned out for spring. For this DIY, I'm going to use 2 of these wooden shiplap signs from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to flip them over and pull off the twine hangers. They are just put on there with staples, so they pull off easily. Then I picked up 2 of these pieces of wood from Dollar Tree that are squares, and I mixed a little bit of paint, just some white acrylic paint with a little bit of water to kind of give this a whitewashed look. I added a little bit more. You can kind of just figure out how much you want to add depending on how much wood grain you want to show through. So I didn't want this to be too dark, and I wanted it to kind of match the 2 pieces of the shiplap signs that I had. So I wanted that wood grain to show through. So I just painted it on and wiped it off. And then once it was dry, I took one of the squares and I just hot glued that to one of the sides of one of the signs. And then I hot glued the other side, the other sign to the other side, and then I did the same thing with the other square on the opposite side to create a rectangle box. Once I did all that, I went ahead and reinforced the inside with a little bit of hot glue around the corners so that way everything would stay nicely. Then I wasn't thinking I needed a bottom to this, but then I decided that was probably a good idea. So you could just pick up another one of those wooden shiplap signs and put that on the bottom, but I didn't do that. So I had this little wooden sign from Dollar Tree already, but it was a little bit too long, so I just went ahead and scored it with an X-Acto knife and cut it off and then just hot glued it to the bottom. Now to make this a little bit more Eastery, I had some of these wooden bunnies left over from my previous projects, so I just went ahead and spaced them out onto each side of the signs and hot glued them down. You could use some hook and loop fastener and just put those on so that way you could take them off easily and you could interchange this for holidays. I just glued mine on because I didn't have any hook and loop fastener, but I think that would be a good idea, so that way you could use this all year round, or you could stencil on this. You know, there's multiple things that you could do. It's basically just a shell for you to create whatever you want for whatever holiday or season it is. I went ahead and filled mine with some of these fabric carrots from Dollar Tree. You could fill it with flowers, anything you'd like. I love how it turned out. It's super cute for Easter and spring, and it is super simple to make. For this next DIY, I'm going to use one of these trellises from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to use some wire cutters and I'm going to cut off the bottom pieces that you would stick into the ground. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the top decorative piece as well. You can leave that on, it's up to you. I just wanted to use this middle section as a pattern for a basket. So if you want that decorative piece, you can leave it on or you can take it off. But I'm going to use some of this white nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and I just took off the tape on the ends of the nautical rope, and it does start to fray and come apart when you take off the tape. So make sure you have your hot glue handy and also some scissors, so that way you can trim up the edges of those. I took one of the pieces and I started at the bottom and I just hot glued it around the bottom, and then I just wrapped the nautical rope around the wire form, and then when I got to the end of the rope, I would hot glue that end, and I just left it open in the middle. I ended up using 5 bunches of nautical rope to cover this to make it look like a basket. Once it was covered in nautical rope, I just used my scissors and I went around and trimmed it up along those edges, and I just used some hot glue to reinforce some pieces down. Then I took another piece of nautical rope, so this would be the 6th bunch that I used for this basket, and I took the edge and I just hot glued one side to the top of my basket and the other side to the top of the other side of the basket to create a handle, so that way I could use this to hang up, because this is going to be like a door hanger or a wall hanging that you can use for Easter. And basically this is done. You can fill it however you would like. You can use some florals from Dollar Tree. I'm using these spring florals. I think I had about 9 bunches of these in the different colors. They have purple and like a dark pink and some yellow. And then I just placed them inside the basket and manipulated them how I wanted them to sit. But you could use anything you'd like. You could add some Easter eggs to this to make it a little more Eastery. And then you can take them out, just leave it like this for spring. So it's up to you. A lot of things you can do with this. I think this would look really cute as a door hanger on your front door, or even just hang on your wall or on a mirror for spring. For this last DIY, I'm going to use these 3D wreath forms from Dollar Tree. There is a larger one and then there is a smaller one. I'm going to use one of each of both of those. And then I am going to take one of the bottom metal pieces that holds the rings together, and I'm just going to push down on that and pull it upwards. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other one, so that way I have 2 metal pieces on each one that are sticking out and upwards, so that way I can use that to connect these 2 spheres together. So I'm just going to use some zip ties, and I'm going to take those 2 metal long pieces that I did that to, and I'm just going to zip tie those 2 together to make sure that way they kind of hold while I am trying to open up these pieces. I went ahead and opened up the pieces and used some more zip ties to zip tie the top sphere to the bottom sphere, and it still kept closing on me. So I'm just gonna take the little metal circle pieces that come with the wreath forms, and on the bottom of the big one, I'm going to use that metal piece to hold these together so that way the spheres stay open. And then I took another one of the metal pieces and I did the same thing to the smaller sphere on the top. And you just twist them, they're very pliable, and you just make them form to what you need to do to keep those spheres open. Then I took some more zip ties and I just went in through the middle two pieces to keep those connected, and so that way the top sphere didn't flop everywhere. I just used the zip ties to hold everything together. And then I took the bottom metal piece that stuck out and then the top metal piece that stuck out, and I bent those, and then I used some wire cutters to cut them off. And then I need this to stand up, so it doesn't stand up by itself. So I'm going to use one of these foam small wreath forms to make it stand up. I just used some hot glue and held it in place until it was stable enough to stand up on its own. Now, to cover up all of the ugliness, the metal pieces that are holding everything together, the zip ties, and the foam wreath form, I'm going to use some moss from Dollar Tree. For the foam wreath form, I just covered the very top of that and then a little bit on the inside of the ring. And then I am taking the moss and I am covering both spheres with all of the moss. So I'm going up those wire pieces with some hot glue, and then I am covering it with moss. Now, it would be a good idea to do this over another container because you're going to lose a lot of moss. I'm in my craft room, so I don't mind cleaning up this mess. But if you don't have a craft room, or you don't want to be as messy as me, then use a container and put everything inside of that, and then do this so that way it's a little bit easier to clean up afterwards. So I did the whole bottom sphere and then I moved on to the top, making sure to pay close attention and covering up those metal pieces in that middle for the zip ties so that you couldn't see anything and everything was covered up nicely. Now, if you haven't guessed yet, I am making a big bunny out of these two spheres. So for the ears, I'm going to use some of this wired twine from Dollar Tree. I just cut two pieces and eyeballed it to make both of them the same size, and then I just attached them to the top smaller sphere to form the ears. And then I covered up where they were attached to the sphere at with a little bit more moss and made sure it was hot glued down so that they stayed really nicely and didn't move around on me. Now, to give this a little bit more interest and to cover up the rest of the foam wreath form, I had some tulips and some lavender and some hydrangea bunches from Dollar Tree. I believe I had 9 bunches all together, and I'm just going to use some floral wire to wrap those flowers around the outer ring of the wreath to cover everything up. And I'm sorry you can't see this very well. I was having problems with my zoom on my camera. You can see I tried to fix it there, but it just wasn't working. But I just added a flower and attached it with the wire and then just kept adding flowers. I've done this before on my channel, making wreaths and things like that. Actually, I believe in my last video I did that. So if you need a tutorial, you can check out my last video. But I love how this bunny turned out. It's super cute, perfect for Easter and spring. You can set it on top of a planter outside in your front yard. Make sure that you spray it with some hairspray or some type of sealer to keep all of the moss on. But I think it is beautiful for spring. For For this first DIY, I wanted to make a cute Easter fairy garden with all of the cute fairy garden stuff Dollar Tree sells. So I got this plastic little bowl from Dollar Tree, and then I'm just gonna glue one of those round styrofoam discs inside just to give some height. And then I picked out this cute little fairy garden house from Dollar Tree and I glued that down to the styrofoam. And now I'm gonna take some of this reindeer moss from Dollar Tree and place it around my bowl to fill it up to make it look kind of like grass. And then I hot glued some of that moss around the styrofoam, leaving the center open so that way I could create a pathway. I did want to go ahead and continue that pathway to the edge of the bowl, so I took the other disc of styrofoam that comes in a 2-pack and I just cut that down and placed that in the front of the styrofoam and covered it with some moss. And now I'm gonna go ahead and do my pathway. Now I had these rocks from Dollar Tree. I had a bunch of the pastel colored rocks already in a package with some of these pink gems. So I just went through and picked out the pastel colored rocks and placed them in the center there for my walkway. And then this cute little pond and duck set from Dollar Tree I thought would work really cute in this fairy garden, so I added that to the bowl. Now I'm showing you here these dried flowers from Amazon. I am gonna go ahead and use those as some of my florals to add some more dimension and texture and just to embellish this fairy garden. You can use fake florals from Dollar Tree. I just already had these on hand and I thought they would look really cute in this fairy garden. So I just picked out the little trees, or well, the little stems of flowers that looked like trees and placed them around, and I just added just the little flowers around the moss to look like they were just flowers coming out of the moss, and the little hydrangeas, added those as bushes. And then I needed an Easter bunny for my fairy garden, but they didn't have any fairy garden Easter bunnies, so I picked up this pack of erasers from Dollar Tree and added that as my little Easter bunny. Now I came across this polymer clay at Dollar Tree in the pastel colors, so I wanted to put some little Easter eggs into my fairy garden, so I just pulled off little pieces of the clay and just shaped them into little cylinders to make them resemble eggs. And I love how this turned out. It looks so pretty and Eastery and springy, and you can take out the eggs and the bunny and use it all spring long, and you can definitely customize this to however you would like or add lights or anything. For this next DIY, I found these taper candle holders from Dollar Tree. I thought they were really pretty and they kind of remind me of milk glass, even though they're not white, but the design reminds me of milk glass. So I thought I would turn them into some Easter candle holders by using these bunnies. Now they do come with the little hooks on their heads, so I just used some pliers and squeezed those hooks off. They break really easily. And then you'll just want to use a little piece of sandpaper to sand down their heads so they're smooth. And then all I'm going to do is use a little bit of this glue and hot glue to glue the bunnies onto the candle holders, and then I spray painted them white, and that was really all I had to do. But now I want to show you how I made the candles for the candle holders. So I did this with some Valentine's Day candles. You just take the taper candles from Dollar Tree, and then I used a little wax warmer and melted down some of this orange wax from Dollar Tree and a paintbrush, and I'm just gonna paint like little upside down triangles onto the taper candles with that orange wax. This is giving me the illusion of carrots for this candle. And the best part about using wax is if you make a mistake or whatever, you can just scrape it off and start over again. So it's really easy to use the wax on these candles. You just kind of have to layer the color because it's not super pigmented, so you just kind of have to layer the colors, but it dries super quickly. And then I did the little leaves on the top of the carrots with some green wax. I just melted one of those blocks down and used just a smaller, thinner paintbrush to paint on the little leaves at the top. And then it just gives the illusion of carrots all over the candle. I think it's really cute. You'll want to have a paper towel next to you so that way you can periodically wipe off the excess wax that gets on your paintbrush, because it does build up and starts to dry out a little bit. So you just wipe that wax on the paper towel and then just re-dip it back into the melted wax. And I think this works out perfectly to paint designs on these little taper candles, and you can do all sorts of designs because they have all different colors of wax melts at Dollar Tree. So you can get really creative and do flowers or bunnies or whatever you want to do. This is how they turned out. They look really cute in these bunny taper candle holders that I made, and they are definitely very festive. Now I wanted to go ahead and make another set of taper candles because in my Valentine's Day video, when I made the other ones with wax, someone asked if you could use acrylic paint, or you could paint onto the candles. And you can do that onto regular taper candles from what I Googled, but it does have to be non-toxic acrylic paint. So I picked up these battery operated candles at Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna use some acrylic paint on these. Now you can do the same design with the carrots, or something else, or flowers or whatever with the paint, but I decided to go ahead and try out making these taper candles into carrot. I started off by using a little piece of sandpaper to rough up the candle to give it some texture, but also to help the paint stick onto the candles really well. And then all I'm doing is painting a mixture of green paint on the bottom and then orange paint on the top. And I did mix in a little bit of white paint to that orange just to kind of give it a little more dimension. I think it helped make it look more like a carrot. And then the bottoms just weren't looking like a carrot. So I took this polymer clay from Dollar Tree, and I don't really know a lot about clay, but the polymer clay you have to bake for it to dry out. So I would definitely recommend using air dry clay for this if you're gonna make leaves for your candles, so that way they dry out and harden, because these will never dry out, unfortunately. But this is what I had on hand, so I just went ahead and used it just to show you guys that you can make some leaves to add to the bottom to make it look more like a carrot. So I just roughed it up a little bit and attached it to the bottom of the candles, and I think these turned out really cute. I didn't have enough clay to do as many leaves as I wanted to, but I think you can see what I was going for. Next up, I'm going to take these styrofoam balls from Dollar Tree. I got the bigger ones and then the medium-sized ones, and then I found this really pretty fabric at Dollar Tree as well. So I just took the fabric and unfolded it, and then I cut it in half and then cut it in half again, so that way I had 2 squares out of 1 half. And then I'm going to take one of the bigger balls, and I just folded up the corners, and then I took the other corners, the opposite corners, and folded those up and bunched those around to cover up the styrofoam ball. And I am just going to use some twine at the top there to just tighten it and make sure that it is securely closed. And then I am going to take that excess fabric and just cut it off. And that is going to be the tail of my bunny, and the styrofoam ball is going to be the body of my bunny that I'm making here. So then with the second piece of fabric and one of the medium-sized balls, I'm going to do the same thing I did to the first ball. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around and meet those corners and kind of just fix it so that it is a little bit smooth, and then I'm going to tie that off. I'm going to tie that twine into a bow because this is going to be the head of my bunny. But as I'm tying the twine, I'm gonna go ahead and pull apart those excess pieces of fabric because those are gonna be the bunny's ears. So you just keep working and pulling those apart so that way you create a center and then 2 ears. It looks like 2 ears on each side. And then I just finished off my bow and cut the excess twine, and that is the head of my bunny. Now to put it all together, I'm just going to use a skewer, and I just cut it down so that way the pointier part is going to stick inside the body, and then the other part sticks inside the head. I did have to cut a little bit of the fabric to make sure that it went through, and that's it. You just put it through. You can add a dab of hot glue in between the head and the body just to make sure that it doesn't move around. But I think these are really cute and perfect to set around your house to decorate for the Easter season. For this last DIY, I picked up one of these bunnies from Dollar Tree in the plus section. It is a $5 bunny. I just loved the glasses and the little pearls it had on it, and I thought it would be perfect to turn it into a lamp. So I got this lamp kit off of Amazon. It was really inexpensive and perfect to transform anything you want into a lamp. So all I'm doing is taking my drill and using the same size drill bit as that gold bar you see there on your screen in the box. And I am drilling a hole in the top of the bunny's head. You have to be really careful because it's easily breakable. So you have to kind of be light pressure when you're drilling that in. I know that's hard, but you do because you don't want to break the bunny. Now I need a second hole, so I decided to put the second hole in the bunny's tail so that way the cord would come out of the bunny's tail. But I actually should have done it in the bunny's chest, and it should have lined up with the head. And that's for 2 reasons. One, because this wire was super hard to get up through the tail and out through the head. I did manage to do it, but it took me a lot longer than what you see here in this video. It probably took me about 30 to 40 minutes to get that wire through, but I did get it through. Second of all, when you put that gold bar down through the bunny's head, you want it to come out of its chest a little bit and tighten it with a nut so that way that gold bar doesn't move around. Because mine did move around a little bit. So anyways, I still love how it turned out. It was so easy to put together. The instructions on the lamp kit worked perfectly. I love how it looks with the pink bunny and the colors and everything. And I guess it just depends on your style, but I decided to go ahead and paint the bunny gold to see what it would look like. And I love it this way too. Let me know down in the comments which way you like the bunny, if you would rather have it Easter colors or a gold bunny lamp. I'm gonna do a floral rainbow inspired wreath, and I'm gonna use one of these 14-inch round wire wreath forms from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and wrap some ribbon around the wreath form first. This is going to help me attach my flowers to the wreath form, and then it's also going to help disguise the back of the wreath form when everything is done so it looks more pretty in the back. I did use 1.5 things of ribbon to cover the whole wreath. For my flowers, I chose to use all of the same flowers and use hydrangeas. So I picked colors as close to the rainbow as I could get, but you can choose whatever flowers you would like and you can mix and match. They definitely do have all of the colors of the rainbow at Dollar Tree for their florals, so you could definitely do more of a rainbow if you wanted to. I just like the pastel colors. So all I did was I just removed the flowers from the stems, and then I just hot glued them to the wreath, and having that ribbon there made it easier to hot glue the flowers to the wreath form. I used 6 different colors for this wreath. I used 2 bunches of each color, and that gave me a total of 12 bunches of flowers that I needed for this wreath. I think it turned out so pretty and perfect for spring. This next wreath, I'm going to use these little wooden birdhouses from Dollar Tree. They have a few different types, a couple with different roofs, and then a few different openings. I'm going to use 8 in total, and I'm just going to remove the stickers from the bottom. They were really easy to get off, which I was super happy about because typically it's hard to get stickers off of things, but not these little wooden houses. Next, I'm going to use some spray paint, and I just have 4 different colors that give me some spring vibes. You can use whatever colors you like, and I'm going to spray paint 2 houses of each color. So once I get them all done and dry, I can go ahead and arrange them in a circle. So I'm going to arrange them in a circle where the bottoms of the houses touch, so that way I can glue them together. I'm just going to use hot glue to glue mine together. Obviously, using E6000 or wood glue would give you a stronger hold, and also if this is going to be in the sun, you might want to use either of those glues so it won't melt. Once everything though was glued together, I'm going to flip it over, and for some extra reinforcement, I'm going to use one of these willow wreaths from Dollar Tree. It's the smaller ones, and I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue that to the back of the houses, and that will keep everything a little more stable. So after I got the birdhouses all down, I flipped the wreath over, and I was not liking what I saw. There was too many holes, so I decided to get some of these lavender floral picks from Dollar Tree. I believe I had 2 of each color, the white, the light purple, and the dark purple. I just pulled the flowers and the leaves off of the stems, and I hot glued the leaves down first and then hot glued the flowers in between the leaves because it's all separate on the stems, and I started hot gluing those all around in between the houses, and this wreath started coming together, and I absolutely love how it looks now. It's so perfect for springtime. For this next wreath, I'm going to use the bicycle wreath form from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some of the lavender picks as well. I am going to use 8 in total lavender picks. I have 3 of the white and 3 of the light purple, and then 2 of the dark purple. And I'm going to start off by taking one of the picks, and I'm just going to form it kind of along the wheel there. And to add my picks to the form, I'm going to use this ribbon from Dollar Tree instead of floral wire, because honestly I didn't have any, so this actually worked out perfect. So I just started at the top there and wrapped my ribbon around the first one and hot glued it to secure it down, and then I just kept wrapping the ribbon and then adding my lavender picks as I worked my way around the wreath on one side. And then when I got to the bottom and I added my last lavender pick, I just kept wrapping the ribbon around the stems at the bottom there, so that way this kind of looked like a bouquet, kind of like a bridal bouquet in my opinion. And then you can see I'm going to add a sign there, so I just went as far as I could, or as far as I thought I needed to, and then I cut the rest of the stems off with wire cutters, but I didn't cut enough off, so I added a little bit more ribbon there at the end. And then I am going to add this cute little sign from Dollar Tree that says "Meet me at the garden." I'm just going to hot glue it down to the form and the flower bouquet, and then I took the rest of the ribbon I had left over from the spool and tied a little bow and added that to the bottom there in between the sign and the bouquet, and I love how this wreath turned out for spring. This next wreath is fairy garden inspired. I'm going to use one of these floral foam rings from Dollar Tree and a bag of floral moss. I'm just going to attach the floral moss to the wreath with some hot glue, and this is a very messy process, and the floral moss does shed, so make sure after you're done coating the wreath with the floral moss, give it a coat of clear sealer or some hairspray to keep it stuck down really well. To give it more of a fairy vibe, I guess, I'm going to use some twine and hot glue it to the back of the wreath and then wrap it around the wreath 2 times. And I don't know, I just think this gives it more of like an English garden fairy feel. And then I just used some of the fairy garden statues and figurines that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I hot glued one of the little house figurines to the bottom of the wreath, and then I hot glued a little gnome and another little piece to the side there, and then I just used a little bit of the extra moss I had lying around to fill in the gaps where it didn't completely touch the wreath. And then to add some more extra fairiness to this wreath, you have to add fairy lights. So I grabbed a pack of these from Dollar Tree, they're battery operated, and I just tucked it inside of the twine to begin with, and then I just started wrapping the lights around the wreath form. Once I got all the way around the wreath and back to where the little fairy house is, there is excess wire that doesn't have lights on it at the end of the string. So I just wrapped that up as best as I can. I looped it around like you can see here. And then you can use like a twist tie, but I used a little piece of twine because I didn't have a twist tie, and I just tied that around the loop in the middle of that wire there, and then I'm just gonna hot glue that down to the back of the wreath right underneath the house. I hot glued the battery pack to the back of the house, and this turned out to be a cute wreath. For this first DIY, I'm going to use 4 canvases from Dollar Tree. These are 8x10 canvases, and I'm going to reverse canvas them. I'm just going to use a razor blade from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut the edges to take off the canvases, and I'm going to place those canvases to the side. Once I get all of the canvases off of the frames, I'm going to go ahead and stain the frames. You can use stain or you can paint them. I'm going to use some acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. It's just brown paint, and I mixed it with a little bit of water, and I'm just going to wipe it on, and it gives a great stain effect. So I'm just going to do that to all 4 of the canvases, and then I am going to let those dry. So while those frames dry, I'm going to take one of the canvases I cut off, and I am going to cut those edges that were wrapped around the canvas off just with some scissors. I want to make sure this canvas is nice and flat because I'm going to be putting it through my printer, and if it's not flat, it's going to get stuck. So once I do that, I printed on a regular piece of paper, and I just made this on canva.com, and I'll leave it linked down below in the description box, but it's free. You can print it yourself. I printed it on a regular piece of paper, and I lined it up with the canvas and the frame just to make sure everything was even and nice, so that way I didn't ruin my canvas before I actually printed on it. So this is like a test piece of paper before I print on my canvas. Now that everything is lined up, I can go ahead and put the canvas in my printer and print off the design right onto my canvas, and it comes out nice and neat. Next, I can go ahead and attach the canvas to the back of my frame with some hot glue, and then if I have some extra canvas laying on the edge, I just use a razor blade and cut that apart. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach the other 3 canvases to the backs of the frames. So I just lined it up, and again, just using hot glue, making sure the canvases are stretched nicely, and then using a razor blade to cut off the edges that stick out from the frame. Now I'm going to use this felt bunny garland from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pick 3 of the colors that I like, and I'm going to cut the bunnies from the string. And then I'm going to take those 3 bunnies and I'm going to attach them to the leftover 3 canvases that I have. I just used some hot glue to attach the bunnies to the inside of the canvases. Lastly, I'm going to attach all the canvas frames together, and I'm going to start off with the Happy Easter at the top and then attach the 3 bunnies below it. I just attached each frame to each other with some hot glue. And that was it. This turned out super cute.
I know that I haven't been who I was. I am supposed to be the one you can trust. I feel so useless 'cause I let you down.
For the next DIY, I used one of the shorter metal buckets from Dollar Tree. I also used some of the Dollar Tree black vinyl and used my Cricut to print out the words bunny bait and attach that to the front of my bucket. Instead, you could use the black letter stickers that Dollar Tree sells to spell out the word. I decided to add some of the Dollar Tree buffalo checked ribbon to the top of the bucket over the twine. I just hot glued it down, and then I decided to add a small simple bow to the middle of the top of the bucket. Now to weigh the bucket down, I used some rocks from Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to use some of this raffia also from Dollar Tree. I just used a couple bunches. It comes in a pack of 3, and I just unraveled it and cut a few pieces and just stuffed it inside the bucket. Next, I added 3 packs of these carrots from Dollar Tree, and I just stuffed them inside the raffia in the bucket. These carrots are a little bit larger than the ones that they sold last year, which is awesome. And then they are also selling this cute little bunny bottom on a stick. So I went ahead and just broke off a little bit of the stick so that way it stuck down inside my bucket and the little feet dangled over the edge of the bucket. The last thing I did was use one of these chalkboard signs, and I used a chalk pen and wrote free carrots and added it to the bucket. And this turned out to be such an adorable DIY for Easter.
I can't show what you mean to me, 'cause I don't know what to do if you go. I just don't know what to do if you go.
For this DIY, I'm using one of these wooden hanging signs from Dollar Tree, and I just removed the twine because I don't need the hanger, and then I'm going to stain it with some of that watered down brown acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. And then I printed this cute little saying off of my Cricut with some of the Dollar Tree white vinyl. Now I did not make this saying. I did get it off of Cricut Design Space, and it's not something that is free, unfortunately. You do have to pay for it or be subscribed to get it, but I just couldn't figure out a way to make anything as cute as what this looked like. I did go ahead and cut the sections of the vinyl out so that way it would be easier to apply onto my board and it would spread out more evenly since my board was a rectangle. And then I wanted to make my holes just a little bit bigger on the one side where the hanger was, and then I wanted to make holes on the other side so that way I could make handles. Now you want to be careful if you are drilling into this wood because it can break. I did fix it with just a little bit of stain over it and then with these wooden beads. But be very careful. It is a very gentle wood. And so for my handles, I'm just going to go ahead and insert a piece of twine on one side and then string 8 beads on that piece of twine, and then string the other side of the twine through the other hole. And then I did hot glue both beads down on each end to the wood and then tie off the twine on the other end and hot glue it. And that was it. I love how this turned out. It's super cute.
One more chance, I swear I'll try my best to always be there. And I want you to know that I'm lost without you. I'm not without you.
So for this DIY, I picked up one of these welcome mats from Dollar Tree, and my thinking was I was going to make it over for spring. And I was going to use the welcome side to make over, but it just didn't fit in with my design, so I ended up flipping it over to use the back side for my DIY. But it actually works out because now it is a reversible rug. Now for the rug, I'm going to go ahead and use the 4 leftover bunnies from the felt garland, and I'm going to trace the shapes out onto my rug, and I'm just using a chalk pen from Dollar Tree to trace them out. Next, I'm just going to paint each bunny a different color. So the first bunny I just painted with this yellow chalk paint. The second bunny I painted with this green chalk paint. The third one I painted with this Dixie Belle blue chalk paint. And the fourth bunny I painted with this lilac colored chalk paint. I did do 2 coats, and once everything was dry, I came back with some of this white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree, and I used that to make the little bunny tails on the back of the bunny. And that's all there is to this cute little rug for Easter. I did spray it with some Never Wet to seal it. For this last DIY, I'm going to use these colored twine wrapped eggs from Dollar Tree. I picked up 1 pack of each color, and I'm just going to remove the sticks from them just by breaking the sticks at the top. If you do pull them out, be careful. The twine can unravel, but it's easy to glue back on if you do. Next, I'm going to use this piece of floral foam from Dollar Tree, and I didn't unwrap it because originally I was just going to use it to shape the circular shape of my eggs glued together and just kind of hold it together, but not glue the eggs to it, because as you see here, I am just gluing each end of each egg together and then holding it together tightly so that way it forms the circle, and then it also the glue holds it down because it takes a minute for the hot glue to dry. So I wasn't going to use the foam originally because with just this layer, you were going to be able to see the floral foam with what I was doing, and I didn't think I had enough eggs to do a second layer. But turns out you can see here that I was planning, and I do have enough eggs to do a second layer. So I ended up just placing that floral foam back in the center there, taking off the wrapper, and then hot gluing it to those eggs. And like I said, it takes a minute for the hot glue to set, so just make sure you're holding it all together. And then I went ahead and hot glued the second layer of eggs around or on top of the first layer of egg. Lastly, I'm going to use what Dollar Tree calls a metal bottle cap, and I'm just going to remove the hanger by cutting off the twine. Then I'm going to place it on top of my eggs. I'm going to use some hot glue to secure it down, and this makes a perfect candle holder for Easter.
I just don't know what to do if you go. I've been so selfish.
For this first DIY, I'm going to use 8 bunches of white tulips from Dollar Tree. I want to make a carrot swag. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any orange flowers at Dollar Tree, so that's why I got the white tulips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pluck the tulips off the stems and save the stems for later because I'm going to reuse those for this project. So once I got all of the tulips off the stems, I also want to remove the centers of the tulips because I'm going to be painting the tulips and I don't want to paint the centers if I can help it. So I removed all of the black centers and I set those aside because I'm going to be reusing them and putting them back on after we are done painting them. So to paint them, I am going to use this spray paint in rustic orange, and I just laid them all out and spray painted them. You want to do a couple coats and flip them over over so that you can get them all covered. And then once they're dry, I just took the stems and I removed the leaves because I'm not going to use the leaves. And then I'm going to insert the black centers back into the tulips and then put the tulips back on the stems. Now that the tulips are put back together, I'm going to go ahead and take one stem of them and lay that down. And then I'm going to take two more stems and I'm going to kind of stagger them on the side of that first stem and then grab all three of those stems and bunch them together. And then you can use floral wire. I couldn't find my floral wire, so I had this wired twine from Dollar Tree. So I just used that and I just twisted it around. I used a little bit of hot glue to make sure that the wire stayed down and wrapped it around the bunches. Now I'm gonna add two more bunches of tulips above those first three, and I'm just going to continue to do that up with the other two bunches, wrapping the twine each time and making sure it's secure. Then I added the last bunch right there in the middle and wrapped some more twine and added a little bit of hot glue. And then what I'm going to do is I need to add the tops for the carrots. So I found these two bunches of foliage from Dollar Tree. That's just what they're labeled. I thought they looked perfect as carrot tops, so I just tucked them inside the top of the tulip bunches there. And then with the excess twine I still have, I'm going to wrap that all the way around to make sure that it's really secure, and then again using some hot glue to secure it down. And then I just fanned it out a little bit. Now I flipped it over to the back so that way I could trim up the stems from the tulips on the back side. And now I am going to use some of this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree to cover up the twine right there in the middle. I'm going to make a big bow. You can use whatever ribbon you have on hand, and I'm just going to tie that off and cut the ends. And this turned out so cute. I love how it looks like a big carrot swag for Easter and springtime. For this DIY, I'm going to be using an 8x10 canvas from Dollar Tree. I'm going to reverse canvas it, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the canvas. So I flip the canvas over, and to remove the canvas, I found the easiest way is just to score along the edges with a box cutter and just remove the canvas that way and not worry about the staples. And then I am going to stain the canvas with some acrylic brown paint mixed with water. It's the easiest way to stain this canvas, so you don't have to go out and purchase a whole can of stain if you don't want to. Dollar Tree sells this brown acrylic paint. Once the stain is dry, I'm just going to flip it over and I am going to apply the canvas on the back of the frame, and I'm going to reattach it with some hot glue. You can use staples if you'd like, but hot glue works just fine. Just make sure you stretch it tight enough so that way the canvas isn't loose. And then the excess canvas that is around the outside of the frame, you just cut it with a box cutter. Then I'm going to use some of these wooden carrot ornaments from Dollar Tree. They are so cute. So to color my wooden carrots, I am going to mix some paint with some water to stain them like I did with the canvas frame. So for the tops of the carrots, I am using a chalk paint in the color oatmeal. It's kind of like a subtle gray greenish color. And then for the bottoms of the carrots, I'm going to use some of the orange acrylic paint from Dollar Tree, and again just a little bit of water and some paint and just mix it up, and then you can start just brushing on the colors where you want them. They will bleed into each other if you're not careful, so you want to make sure that you stop the color you want a little bit before the next color, so that way it'll kind of blend all together in the end. But this is just going to give the carrots a more subtle farmhousey look, I think. But you can paint them if you want to. I did 11 carrots this way, and then I did one of the wooden bunny ornaments, and I just painted that with some white acrylic paint. I accidentally painted the wrong side of the bunny because I wanted the bunny to look at the carrots in the end, and you'll see. So make sure when you're doing this, you paint the right side of the bunny. So I laid out all of my carrots. I did 2 rows of 4, 1 row of 3 carrots, and then the bunny looking at the carrots. And then I just hot glued everything down. This turned out so cute. For this DIY, I'm going to use 4 of these wooden bunny heads I found at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and paint them with some white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. I did give them probably around 3 coats of paint because this white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree doesn't cover very well, so you definitely want to give them a few coats. But after it dried, I came back with some of this wood stain in the color Briar Smoke, and I just went around the edges with my paintbrush and then wiped it with a paper towel just to give it more of a weathered look. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the bunny heads together, so I just stood 2 of them up next to each other. And then I just hot glued them together and then put the other 2 opposite of each other and just use a little more hot glue to secure everything down. And then I'm going to place a clay pot from Dollar Tree inside, and I did this up so that way you could still see the bunny ears when you put the flowers inside, and this makes such a cute bunny planter. For this next DIY, I'm going to use one of these styrofoam craft bunnies from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use some of this lightweight spackling from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to color it with this folk art chalk paint in the color Castle. I just mixed in a little bit of the color and made sure that I mixed it really well. I'm going to give this bunny a concrete look, a faux concrete look. I did this for one of my Valentine's Day videos with the styrofoam heart from Dollar Tree, and it worked really well. So after I get the color all mixed into the spackling, all I'm going to do is take my little spatula, which I also got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spread it on to the bunny just like you would spread on icing to a cake. When you're spreading on the spackle, you don't need to worry about it being smooth. It's going to have some rough spots and it's going to be bumpy. You just want to make sure that you're spreading it on evenly and covering all of the styrofoam as best as you can. And then also you want to make sure that underneath the ears, in between the back and the ears of the bunny, that there's that gap there, because you won't be able to really do anything about that once it dries. And then you can see I inserted a skewer to the bottom of the bunny to make it easier to work on the underside and get that all covered. And also I was able to use that skewer to set it up in a piece of styrofoam to let it dry overnight for 24 hours. And that is what I did. And now it is hard enough to be able to come back and use a sanding block and sand it all smooth. And then once it's all sanded smooth, I decided to add a cute little bow with this ribbon from Dollar Tree. I just tied a bow and then hot glued it to the neck, and that was it. I think this turned out really adorable for Easter or spring decor. For this last DIY, I'm going to use 3 of these wooden carrots from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to remove the hanging parts from them because I don't need them for this project. And then I mixed some of that orange acrylic paint from Dollar Tree with some water, and I used that to stain the bottoms of my carrots. I just painted it on and then let it dry. And for the tops of the carrots, I mixed some of that chalk paint in the color oatmeal, and again I just brushed it on the tops of the carrots to give it that farmhouse subtle look, so it wasn't super bright. And then I wanted to make like the ribbing in the carrots, so I took some watered down white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree and I just lightly brushed Walmart as well, or you can use a wooden dowel from the hardware store, from like Home Depot or Lowe's. It will definitely be stronger if you did that. But I'm just going to line up my carrots and kind of stagger them a little crooked, each one a little crooked, and then hot glue them down to the stick. And then you can see where my stick is showing in a couple spots. So I'm going to use some of this raffia from Dollar Tree. I just used one of the rolls out of the 3-pack and I just cut it and then hot glued it to the back and the front, and then that way it's going to cover up the skewer. Now I'm going to use one of these planters from Dollar Tree, and I am going to use one of these styrofoam blocks also from Dollar Tree. This one is the more heavy duty sturdy one. I would suggest using this white one instead of the green ones. Those ones break apart easily. And I just hot glued it to the bottom of my planter, and then I'm going to stick my carrots with the pointed side of this skewer into the styrofoam, and it still will be a little wobbly and a little top heavy, so I'm going to use a bag of these Dollar Tree rocks to fill the top in and make it more sturdy. Then I just covered the rocks with the rest of that raffia, and this turned out to be really cute. For this DIY, I'm going to use one of the 8x10 canvases from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to reverse canvas it. I love using these canvases for all different sorts of DIY projects. So I'm just going to use a box cutter from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to score the back of the canvas from the staples and just peel off the canvas and set the canvas aside to use later. Then I am going to use these wooden dowels from Dollar Tree. I used 4 of them, and I am just going to cut them to the size that I need with scissors. You can use a little hacksaw or whatever works best for you. Scissors worked just fine, but I cut them so that they fit snug in between my frame. So I did 2 longer ones, and then I cut 2 shorter ones for the opposite side. So I put the 2 longer ones in first, and then I flipped it over and I cut the 2 shorter ones, and I put those on the back so that it looked like a tic-tac-toe board or a hashtag or whatever you want to call it. And that is what I'm going to be making, is a tic-tac-toe board with this. So once I got those fit snugly inside the frame, I did want to go ahead and glue them down just to make sure they didn't move. So I just used a little bit of hot glue for this, but you could definitely use wood glue and let it dry, and it would definitely work a lot better because the hot glue dries really fast. So you have to work really quickly getting those back in. And then I wanted to go ahead and stain the whole piece, so I used a little bit of the brown acrylic paint from Dollar Tree mixed with some water, and I just brushed that on to the back and the front of this and let it dry. Now I'm just going to go ahead and reattach the canvas to the back of the frame. You can use whichever side of the canvas you would like to show on the front. And then I'm just going to use hot glue to attach everything. And I used my box cutter to cut the excess canvas from around the edges of the frame. And then for the X's and the O's, I'm going to use these bunnies and carrots from Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to paint both the backs and the fronts of them. I did start off by painting the bunnies with some of this pink acrylic paint, but decided that it just looked too bubblegum pink for me and I didn't like that. So I decided in the end to change that, and I'll show you here in just a second. But the carrots, I used some orange acrylic paint, and then the tops of the carrots, I used just some chalk paint in the color oatmeal. And then here is where I repaint the bunnies. This is some chalk paint in the color castle, and it just looks a lot better with the carrots. After all of these were dry, I put them in one of these little bunny bags. And I think this could be such a cute Easter present for Easter basket, or just a cute piece of decor for Easter. For this DIY, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree plungers. I already stained my stick a while back, and I'm just going to remove the plunger part just to use the stick. And I'm going to use one of these foam soccer balls from Dollar Tree. I used my box cutter to cut an X in the center so that way I could take my plunger stick and shove it down in there and use a little hot glue to secure it. Then I'm going to use 8 bunches of these white hydrangeas from Dollar Tree, and I just used some wire cutters to cut the tops off. Now I'm just going to stick the hydrangeas inside the styrofoam ball, starting from the bottom, working my way up towards the top. I did use a little hot glue to secure the ends of the hydrangea stems inside the styrofoam ball, just to make sure it held really well. And I just worked my way around the ball until it was all filled up. Then I took this stuff, which I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's wired and I love the color of it. So I thought it worked perfect to just wrap around the hydrangeas, and then I just cut it off and hot glued the ends to the underside of the stick. Now I'm going to take one of these planter pots from Dollar Tree and a styrofoam block from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue that block inside the pot. And then I'm going to stick my bottom of my stick inside the styrofoam block and use some hot glue to secure it. Now to fill up that space there, I'm just going to use some paper bags, and then on top I'm going to fill it with some white rocks from Dollar Tree, and I love how this turned out for spring. This next DIY, I'm going to use 3 of these glass candy jar containers from Dollar Tree. At least that's what I'm going to use them for, as candy jars. I'm going to go ahead and remove these stickers off the bottoms. They are pretty sticky, so I did bust out the goo gone for this and scraped off the stickers. After I used that, it was super easy for them to come off. And then I'm going to use the rest of these treat sacks from the first project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tags from the inside because I don't want those to show, so I just cut those out. And then I removed the lid from one of the jars, and then the lid fits perfectly inside one of these bunny treat bags. So you just slide it in, and then you can just do what you would normally do, and that is tie the twine around the top to make the little bunny ears. I did cut the slit for the bunny ears just a little bit more so that way they would stand out just a little bit more. And then I just went ahead and put the lid back on the jar and did the other 2 the same way. The lid does not close tightly with these on there. They just kind of pop on and pop off, so you won't have a airtight seal anymore. But again, I'm just using this for candy, and it's going to be eaten pretty quickly. Then I used some of these pom-poms from Dollar Tree to put little tails on, and I filled them with some jelly beans and some mini Cadbury eggs, and this turned out super cute for some candy jars for Easter. For this last DIY, I used one of these plastic garden dishes from Dollar Tree. I removed the stickers from the top and the bottom. They were a lot easier to remove than the last ones. And I found these glass mosaic tiles from Dollar Tree. I picked up 4 packages of them, and I used them to cover the inside of the bowl. I just used hot glue to secure them down, but you could definitely use super glue. It would give it a stronger hold, but I didn't have any problem with the hot glue and them coming up or anything like that. So I just hot glued them all around the inside of the bowl. I didn't have any pattern or anything that I was following. You could definitely make a pattern, or you could try to make a picture inside. I just wasn't that creative, and I thought it looked pretty just being sporadic anyways. The only thing I did do is make sure around the top edge of the bowl that I did get a nice layer so that it would be even. And I just continued doing that. Once that was finished, I used some of this lightweight spackle from Dollar Tree to fill in the gaps and the cracks between the tiles. You could definitely use grout if you had some, or you could use the white caulk that Dollar Tree sells. I've used that before, and it's a little bit hard to remove from, well, I didn't use these tiles, but I used the little glass beads from Dollar Tree, and it's hard to remove from those beads, so I figured it would probably be a little bit more hard to remove from these mosaic tiles. So I opted for the lightweight spackle, and I think it worked perfectly fine. It's definitely not waterproof, so you can't use this outside, but I think it looks pretty inside for just like keys or things like that. So after I got the spackle all spread out with the spatula, I came around with my finger and I just lightly wiped around it just to clean off some of the tiles and smooth off the edge, and then I let it dry for 24 hours. Once the inside of the bowl was dry, I flipped it over, and I'm going to use some spray paint to cover up the outside of the bowl so that way you can't see the tiles and the spackle. I used the chalk paint in the color Serenity Blue and gave it a couple coats, and I think this turned out super pretty.
Jump into the car on a Friday night, I wanna drive with you. Looking for a bar in the nearest town, I've never seen a sky so blue. We don't ever play it.
For this first DIY, I'm going to make an Easter wreath. So I have this wire wreath form from Dollar Tree. It is the smaller of the ones that they sell there. And then I have 6 of these Easter tools. I have pink, purple, blue, and green. And all I'm gonna do is cut the tool into pieces, about 6 to 8 inch sections. And then I just took one of the pieces and I'd wrap that around the wire of the wreath and tie it tight. I just double knotted it. You don't have to. I just wanted it double knotted just to make sure that everything was secure and it would stay on the wreath form. And then I just did that with the rest of the pink all around the wreath form. I just did it sporadically. I did not do it in any pattern or anything. And then I moved on to the blue and did the same thing with the blue. Cut the pieces down and tied them all around the wreath form. Did the same thing with the yellow or green color and tied that onto the wreath form, and did the same thing with the purple color and tied it all over the wreath form until I didn't have any tool left, and this is how it looked. And then I had some of this fabric from Dollar Tree in some Easter colors. So what I did was I just cut a notch out, and then I would just rip the pieces of fabric off, so that way I would just have about 1 inch strips of the fabric, and I just did that to all of the fabric. After I got the pieces ripped off, then I went ahead and folded the pieces in half and then cut them down the middle. So I had 1 piece would make 2 pieces. And then again, I just placed that piece of fabric underneath the wire wreath form and tied it into a double knot. So that way it looked just like the tool. I did this with all of the green fabric, and again, I just placed it sporadically around the wreath form. I didn't have any particular pattern for this, but if you wanted to, you could definitely make a pattern with these colors to kind of keep it a little more uniform. It's up to you. I did the same thing with the blue fabric and the purple fabric as well, tying everything together. And as I was going, the wreath form started to fill up. And I just made sure that I pushed the tulle and the fabric towards the outer ring of the wreath to keep it all nice and neat and clean. And then I took some of this ribbon from Dollar Tree with the little bunnies on it, and I just tied it into a knot like I did with the tulle and the fabric. And then I cut little triangles out at the ends of that just to make it a little bit more decorative. And then I took this pink ribbon that had some polka dots on it, and I did the same thing with that just to kind of bring in a little bit of a darker color, and I thought it looked really cute that way. This is all I did to the wreath. I did trim up the tulle a little bit to make it a little more uniform, but I love how it turned out. There's so many different variations that you could do with this, and this is a great way to use extra fabric and ribbon and things like that that you have maybe in your craft stash lying around. This next Easter DIY is really simple. All I did was take one of the $5 vases from the plus section at Dollar Tree. It's a bigger circular vase. And then I took one of the smaller $1.25 vases from Dollar Tree and placed that into the middle. And now I'm just gonna add some of these white rocks around the side of the vase. And then I have these cute little bunny bottoms from Dollar Tree, and 6 comes in a pack, so it worked out perfectly. I just placed them around the inner part of that vase. And then all you have to do is put some of your favorite flowers, whether they're fresh or fake. These ones are fake from Amazon, and place those in the middle vase. And I think that this turned out really cute and perfect for a centerpiece for your Easter table, and it looks adorable. This Easter DIY is also super simple, and I've actually seen this before used with just regular brown paper bags, but I found these floral ones at Dollar Tree and thought they would be really cute for this DIY. So I just took all of them and put them together, and then I'm gonna cut a triangle at the top of these paper bags. Then fill them with candy or treats, whatever you'd like to give your guests or your kids, whoever you're giving these to. Fill them with their favorite things for Easter. And then I just hot glued the tops of them together just to kind of keep those tops together. And then I'm just gonna bunch the bags around the center and use some twine to tie them up. And then that creates little bunny ears. And I just tied a little bow with the twine, and it looks really cute like that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add little tails to the back of my bunnies. Those were just from Dollar Tree, or you could just use cotton balls. And then I realized the ears needed to be a little more pointy and round, so I came back with my scissors and just started from the inner corners and rounded and pointed those ears out a little bit more. And I love how this turned out. It's such a cute way to give a little treat for Easter, and it's perfect to put around your Easter table. For this next easy Easter DIY, I picked up some of this wax from Dollar Tree for wax warmers, and they come in just some pretty Easter colors, and they smell pretty good too. So I picked up all of the colors, and I'm gonna take 3 blocks from each color, and then I just put them into paper cups, and I melted them in the microwave in about 30-second increments for about 4.5 to 5 minutes each. And then I have this cute little bunny bottom silicone ice tray from Dollar Tree that I got last year. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill those bottoms up with the wax and let that dry for a few hours, and they make the cutest little wax warmers that you can display next to your wax warmer, like in your bathroom or something. They give that perfect Easter feel with the bunny bottoms, but they smell really good like spring. Last but not least, I picked up one of these woven baskets for $1.25 at Dollar Tree. They have the bigger ones there as well, but I just picked up the smaller one. And then I have some of these wooden bunny ornaments, or what they call them, and I am going to take those and just hot glue those around the top of the basket. And I'm just following kind of the line on the basket, even though the line isn't even when you come around to the back, but that's okay because it'll end up lining up in the end. And I just did the bunnies facing each other and then the bottoms facing each other, and kind of alternated that around the basket to fill it up all up evenly. And I love how this turned out. It's really simple, but it's perfect to display in your home. You can put it on your entry table, put your keys and wallet in it, or you can do what I did, put it in a bathroom and put some towels inside of it and tie a little Easter bow around it. It's just perfect for Easter. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed these Easter DIYs. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up before you leave, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.